So, first question is, and it's actually from me, is early days. And I don't know what year we're talking about. I think we're talking 1986. How do you go from bodybuilder, athlete to pro wrestler?
Actually, I was training at a gym called The Gym in Minnesota, Plymouth, Minnesota. And it just so happened, and that's where the Road Warriors, when they weren't on the road, would train at. That was part of their gym that they owned, Animal and Hawk. And yeah, I just happened to be working out there and that stuff. And every time Animal would come in, he kind of stare at me. And I kind of look back, and a little nervous, because of course being Animal and that stuff. And I he came over to me and said, brother, you're a big guy, man. You should think about professional wrestling. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. And after about the third time, he finally convinced me to get involved into the sport and set me up with somebody to train me.
Did you harbour any intentions of ever being a pro wrestler, ever? Or were you even a fan as a kid?
I was a fan. I watched actually the AWA in Minneapolis. I grew up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, same as all those guys. And I used to watch Vern Gagne, Billy Robinson, The Crusher, Nick Bockwinkel, all those guys on wrestling every Sunday morning, man. It'll come on about 11 a.m.
Who were your guys?
I like The Crusher. I like the old Crusher, yes.
Good choice. So, you should really be a wrestler. Was he giving you stories of, like sugar plums and fairies dancing, with the money and that kind of thing? Or is that how he tempted you?
No, he just said it's tough. Exactly. Animal was straight up. He told me it's tough. You go out there, it's rough, man. It's gonna be a tough thing and that stuff, but I know you can do it. Exactly what he said.
How'd you adjust to the traveling immediately?
Hard. Traveling was hard, man. A lot of road, a lot of sitting in cars. Especially in some of the territories and that stuff back then. You could travel 300 miles one way, and as soon as you're done, 300 miles back again and that stuff. I mean, 600 miles round trip plus wrestling, it's a lot.
Obviously, big guy, 6'4", 6'4 and a half, 3. What weight were you when you got into the business? Are we talking 300?
I was probably about 290, about 290.
And wrestlers are notoriously cheap. And
yep.
Sometimes I'm figuring that they may not have rented the biggest car.
You took whatever was available. Yep, you took whatever available.
So tell me, where did you go immediately? Because I know you start in Mid-Atlantic very, very early, but I've seen a list of your matches, and the very first one is in Dallas that's recorded. Is that the first place you went to?
Actually, the first place I started up was the NWA, and it was actually for TV.
Oh, really?
It was about 25 miles north. I can't remember the name of the city. About 45 minutes north of Charlotte, and it was nerve-wracking because I was so green. I'd only been training for a little while, and all of a sudden they said, "Well, kid, you're going to go on national TV." And, there's 2,500 people in the audience out there, and said, "Don't worry, there's only millions in the audience. First thing you do is you run to the goddamn bathroom because you got to go bad, man." But, I went out with George South. Of course, George South has started out so many guys in the business for the very first match. And I did 3 moves, pinned them. And here comes Baby Doll. She raised my hand, which she was big at that time, huge. And there comes Dusty Rhodes. I mean, what a neat thing to start with, having those two people by your side right away.
This is a question I actually wrote later on, but I'll ask you now. Who was your first big? I'll ask you 2 questions. Sorry, who trained you first, and who was your first big proponent in the business, other than the Road Warriors?
The first one, it was Eddie Sharkey. He trained all the guys in Minnesota, the Road Warriors, Nord the Barbarian, Tijo Khan, Brady Boone, Rick Rude. Kurt Henning. I mean, he did all of us guys up there. Of course, Crusher Khrushchev, who is one of, let me see, Smash of Demolition.
Mm-hmm.
Trained him in that stuff. My very first big match, it was NWA, and it was probably, my first one was probably Italian Stallion. He was in NWA. He was my very first opponent I ever had out there.
I'm just looking. These are never comprehensive, but I'm looking. You did wrestle George South in Salisbury, North Carolina.
There you go, Salisbury, North Carolina.
What you're thinking of?
That's it.
There you go then. You spend a tiny bit in bit of time in Mid Atlantic, and then you go to Central States. Now,
Yep.
I was looking at some of your match listings there as well, and some of the guys who were there, and there's a lot of crossover between Mid Atlantic and Central States. Was there a good working relationship at the time? I suspect there was.
Well, the NWA had bought out Central States at the time.
Oh, already?
They gave them an influx of money to Bob Geigel and Bob Brown out there. And they sent a bunch of us young guys, the green guys, a lot of green guys, young green guys, to go out there and work in that territory.
I'm trying to have a look as well, because you see, you're winning Stampede matches, and they're really getting behind you. And apart from where I see Italian Stallion versus Warlord was a draw. Who else was there? Who else was sent over? Because I think Sam Houston was. I wrote some other names now. I know Dennis Condrey was sent over there. Ron Garvin, Sam Houston. Who were your big opponents in Central States?
I had Sam Houston a lot. I worked with Sam Houston a lot.
And is this because? I suppose there's the Baby Doll connection, but that wasn't an on-TV, on-screen connection, was there, with Baby Doll at the time?
Sam was married to her.
Yeah.
At the time, they were married together, and then she was my manager over there. So, it's a little bit of a thing going on, but it worked out good. Sam's a great worker, very good worker.